singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly.
KBLA Talk 1580. That's from Cowboy Carter right there, a little Beyonce. And I love that Sir Paul McCartney got on Instagram to say he loves Beyonce's version of his song. It was meant to be a civil rights anthem, and he loves the way she sings it and the spin she puts on it. That one's for you, Ron, from Richmond. So pleased to welcome into the space this morning a top California employment lawyer, according to the Daily Journal, one of LA's most influential minority and women attorneys, according to the LA Business Journal, a recognized employment and labor law attorney, workplace and Title IX investigator, mediator, arbitrator, and alternative dispute resolution professional. She's also my colleague here on KBLA, attorney Angela Reddock-Wright. Welcome.
Good morning, Dominique. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you in. And it's funny, I was thinking what to play. I thought about Rihanna because you work. For somebody that's in this space of employment law, you seem to have 300 jobs, Attorney Reddock-Wright.
Well, we have to do what we have to do sometimes, right? But I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, you know what? I was thinking about that in terms, obviously, in terms of people like you and me, professionals who have these careers that kind of don't have that many boundaries. I wonder how much this proposal about the right to not have to respond to work would even apply to you or I.
So the new right to disconnect, it hasn't passed yet, but
right.
The proposed right to disconnect law, California Assembly Bill 2751, which was proposed by Assemblyman Matt Haney in San Francisco. So would it apply to individuals like us? So I own my own business, so I would, I have to have a forced right to disconnect, and just as a matter of self-care, make sure that I take time out to balance, to rest, etc. But if I have employees, or if you're working in a capacity where you have employees or are an employee, this law, if it takes effect, would apply. That where employers would be required to have a policy now where they indicate that employees have a right to disconnect and not be available during non-work hours. It would not apply to union employees per se unless that's agreed to through their collective bargaining agreement. And even for non-union employees, they can negotiate, special arrangements with their employer saying, if I get off at 6, I'm going to take time off from 7 to 10 to be with my family, but then feel free to send me an email or a text after that, especially if it's someone who's considered an exempt or salaried employee versus a non-exempt or salary employee. But it's really interesting that this law that is in development, and it's actually, California would not be the first place where it's passed. It's actually been passed. In fact, if you read about Assemblyman Haney and what inspired him in the law, it says he's on a group text with some friends, and a friend had sent him a note saying a law similar to this had been passed in Australia. And so that's how it first got on his radar. And so Australia has it, along with 12 other countries, primarily in Europe, like places such as Italy, Belgium, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, the UK. In fact, the UK calls it the right to switch off, and it's a part of an overall set of laws in the UK where they call it a New Deal for the workplace, or working people. So there is a global movement here.
Well, and, I was saying when I was teasing that you were going to be on the show today, I was really excited to have you in, that to me that's a Generation Z thing. They do not buy into Gen X, the boomers, or even millennials idea that you just grind, the Nipsey Hussle grinding all my life. That's not the goal for Gen Z. They want to have well-rounded lives. And to me, that is now infiltrating the workplace in a way that seems healthy in my perspective.
Yes, indeed. It's definitely motivated by Generation Z, but I think Generation X and boomers that are still in the workplace are secretly and is sometimes publicly envying Generation Z and, the stances that they've taken in terms of, control of their life, both from a work and personal perspective. And so I'm seeing, even amongst my peers and colleagues, where, they are adopting, similar views as Generation Z and saying, work is work and, only get one life. And, when something happens to me, the next day work will continue forward. So I see, whether it be in social media, which I know we're both active in, or just in one-on-one conversations with friends and family members, people starting to, do what they call take back their lives and realize, that, working, it doesn't really lead to a fulfilling life. So folks are looking to balance that. And I think even though we may talk about the Generation Z, we secretly admire them and, some of the things that they stand for.
Yeah,
And
I wish we would stop talking about them like that, because to me they're not, I don't find them lazy. I just think they have more respect for human dignity and boundaries. We're the ones that made up the boundaries song. This is a boundary. And then when our kids get the message, we're mad about it. You taught them about boundaries. But so break down what this would actually mean. Like, does this mean if I leave work and my boss calls me or texts me or emails me, I don't have to get back to him or her?
Well, so the devil's in the details, right? So I think the Assembly, Labor, and Employment Committee probably has a lot of work to do to kind of figure out exactly, what this would look like. Because, again, when you think about the employment relationship, we have basically two to three categories within the workplace. We have those employees, or let's say four. We have those employees who are exempt workers, so they tend to be the salaried managers, executives, and those people, by virtue of their positions, are expected to be available at any time to get the work done. So we don't know yet whether this law would fully apply to exempt employees.
Right.
Would it apply to non-exempt hourly employees? I would anticipate for sure it would apply to that category of employee because, those individuals work a set number of hours. When they clock off, they, tend to, that's the end of work for them. So for sure, I think this law would extend to individuals in that category that when they clock out, that's it, absent an emergency or something to that effect, that the employer would not have a right to text them to, one of the tools in the workplace now is called Slack, to Slack them, which is kind of an online way of communicating, or to call them or reach them on social media, whatever it may be, after work hours. And then we have union employees. Again, off the bat, this does not apply to union employees because their work is governed by a collective bargaining agreement. So the unions would have to negotiate for this to apply to their group of employees. And then the reason I hesitated on the fourth category of workers is we have a category called independent contractors, right? And those individuals aren't officially employees of the workplace, but I think you and I've had some conversations in the past about how those lines can be blurred, between a worker and an official employee versus an independent contractor. But if someone truly is an independent contractor, that means they have their own business. They're just supplying services to a particular company. And so I don't think in its true sense that this law would apply to independent contractors because they officially don't work for the employer.
Right, and that's a trend we're seeing now, more and more workers being categorized as contractors. The gigification of the workplace, which, has advantages and disadvantages, but from the standpoint of workers' rights, not always the greatest thing, right?
Right. And yes, that, one of the things that happens when it comes to gig workers or independent contractors is employers sometimes are looking for ways to save money. And so they think that if they hire someone as a contractor or a gig employee versus as an actual employee where you have to pay payroll taxes and federal and state taxes and have to, in some instances provide insurance and, other workplace rights, that they are relieving themselves of those obligations. But if a person truly isn't a contractor, they're really creating a worse situation for themselves because that person can come back and sue for having worked overtime, sue for, having missed meal breaks or rest breaks, and just a whole litany of other potential claims that a person may have. That is improperly classified as an independent contractor.
I mean, I love the right to disconnect, right to switch off. I love that idea. I think it makes sense from a mental health standpoint. But in highly competitive fields like the one I'm in, entertainment, probably the one you're in, whether we were business owners or not, I happen to be a business owner, but whether we were business owners or not, a lot of people just aren't going to switch off because you're going to feel that you will be at a disadvantage, miss an audition, miss a meeting, be penalized at your job. It's just like being a mom and being in the workplace. In theory, you want to prioritize your child. The law may say that you can, but you know that you'll miss a promotion. You won't be considered a dedicated employee. And so I think the pressures against that, even if it is a law, are pretty significant.
No, for sure. And I think we've even seen in the news, this company is always in the news, so they're probably not the best example. But, Elon Musk recently declared, that if you're going to work at Tesla or X or one of his companies, that basically we're competitive environments. We're constantly evolving, creating, inventing, et cetera, and we need you to be available, 24/7. And I think he had sort of an exodus of employees that, really did not react well to that. So that's probably one of the more extreme examples. But, going back to the earlier point that the devil's in the details, I think this Assembly Labor and Employment Committee is really going to have to think about this, not just only from an employee category perspective, exempt, non-exempt, contractor, union employee, et cetera, but they're going to have to think about it from an industry perspective, to your point, Dominique, that, some industries, just by virtue of how they work and what they require, it might be challenging to have a turn-on, turn-off kind of policy. And not only, does it maybe create an issue for the employee in terms of being able to advance and to grow and to promote and so forth, but, there may be some expectations within the customer base or the consumer base that you have people who are available 24/7. So, I'm not in traditional, big firm law anymore, but when I was and, observing my clients, sometimes, who are in big firm law, they have clients, one that may be global, national, on different time zones, are just, really involved in very serious legal matters, and those clients expect the lawyers and their partners and the managing partners of the firms, as well as the associates within the firm, to be available to address their legal matters. So I think, we're going to have to think about it from an industry perspective as well. But there's probably in the end going to have to be a lot of justification for any industry to be, exempt from this potential new law, because the idea is that no matter what industry you're in, you deserve the right to disconnect.
Talking with attorney Angela Reddock-Wright. And you, if you got a question, comment, or conversation, 800-920-1580. We are unapologetically progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
The Supplemental Security Income Program provides monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI to start to apply. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Yeah, yo, come on. Become the club.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77, I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Talking with attorney Angela Reddock-Wright. She is my colleague here at KBLA and also a renowned lawyer in the employment space, an arbitrator, and so much more. Been an practicing attorney for a couple decades now. Attorney Angela Reddock-Wright, you know, I've been complaining a lot on this show about the spin that's put on this new $20 an hour wage for California fast food workers, because the LA Times and others were right out the box saying these are the chains whose prices are going up because they have to pay workers more. And I'm saying, why is the mainstream media doing the heavy lifting for these corporations that don't want to pay fair wages? Why don't they say in their headline, these are the fast food chains that will be raising their prices because corporate CEOs are making 20 times more than they were 5 years ago? They don't do that. They blame the worker. That said, how do you see the real impact of, actual non-spin impact of this selective wage increase, because it only applies to large franchise fast food workers?
Right. Great questions, Dominique. So we're talking about California's new fast food law, Assembly Bill 1228, which took effect April 1st, just a few days ago, 2024. And it increased the minimum wage, as you said, specifically for individuals who work in the California fast food industry from the current state minimum wage of $16 an hour to $20 an hour just for individuals in this industry. And it applies both to fast food companies, i.e. McDonald's, Taco Bell, Pollo Loco, et cetera, that are both corporate-owned. Some fast food chains are owned by, the founding company, and then some are, most and many are franchised. So it applies to those companies and organizations, whether they're owned by the corporation or owned by a franchise. And currently in California, last reports suggested that we have about 540,000 fast food workers in the state, and in Los Angeles and Orange County alone, about 195,000 fast food workers. And so, to your point, what is the impact of this? So certainly for that 540,000 possibly plus employees, this could make the difference in terms of their ability to put gas in their car, put food on their own tables, pay their rents, although I'm not even sure that $20 an hour in California and any place in California, not just Los Angeles, allows you to be able to pay, the kind of rents that we see in the state without some kind of supplemental support from the government. So arguably this will make a difference, in the lives of those workers. And when it comes to the companies, what we're seeing is that, most companies are saying that they're going to pass those costs to the consumer and the customer. And so I think the real impact of this is that, while companies and organizations, may be saying, this is a great burden on us, in true fashion, companies are going to look for a way, to make sure that those increased costs are covered. So the real impact, I think, is that, we, the customers, we, the consumers, will bear the increase,
of all the costs that they incur, inflation is rising, right? So the food costs more. CEO pay is rising, and it is, the gap between the average worker and the average CEO in this country is at an all-time high. Fuel prices are up, but we don't hear that. The only thing we hear in the media is that we're blaming the workers. You know what? How about your CEOs take a pay cut, and that way we don't have to see these price increases? How about that?
Yeah.
Or how about you blame these energy companies for price gouging on gas and oil, which affects the cost of everything? How about that?
Yeah. No, I think you raise a great point. This whole idea, whether it be with the increased minimum wage or any other worker rights or protections that are passed, is we seem to be entering this time of, demonizing and penalizing workers. But at the same time, we need those same workers to make our economy, work, and to make it so that we all can enjoy the life that we enjoy as, residents of Los Angeles and residents of the United States and citizens of the United States. So, yes, it's disconcerting as it seems to be moving into a place where we're, attempting to balance budgets and attempting to build economies on the backs of workers. So I certainly think we need to change the way we're talking about this and talk about it in the framework of, what does it take, for all of us to, and I know this sounds a little corny and dream world, right? But for all of us to coexist, have a quality of life, where we can, have businesses that are successful, but also have workers that are able to benefit from the work that they're doing, able to take care of their families, able to, have a quality of life and to stay, not only work in places like Los Angeles, but to be able to stay here and enjoy the beautiful city that we have and all that comes with it. So
yeah, to be able to live where we work. For sure. And not only that, I worry about it ahead of an election because the GOP, the Republicans, conservatives, they like to say that raising the minimum wage nationally or locally is a job killer. But yet inflation continues to go up. They want to blame that on Biden. They want to say that we are, anti-business if we want decent wages. But who's going to buy your product? If the average worker is not getting a livable wage, who's going to buy your product? And if people can't afford to live where they work, what does that say about our cities? How does it change our cities? I think that it's really important that these are the things to me, Attorney Reddock-Wright, and we're right up against news, traffic, and sports here. So you can respond on the other side. But these are the things to me where we become trained through these talking points, headlines, and spins to vote against our own interests. To vote against our own interests. Because you're going to say, oh, well, if we raise the minimum wage, then that means inflation will go out of control or it will be a job killer. Well, how about if we forced corporations to spend less money paying their billionaire and millionaire CEOs and a little bit more money on the products so that they won't have to raise prices? How about if we emphasize that instead of brainwashing people to vote against their own best interest in higher wages, decent health care, and benefits? Talking with attorney Angela Reddock-Wright, more straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 6 members of the now infamous Goon Squad were sentenced to prison in state court in Rankin County, Mississippi Wednesday. The 5 former Rankin County Sheriff's deputies and 1 Ridgeland police officer were all accused of torturing and sexually abusing 2 black men in January of 2023. The group was sentenced to a combined total of between 10 to 20 years in prison. Tornadoes tore through Louisiana and Texas Wednesday. 1 ripped off roofs and took down power lines in Lake Charles, Louisiana, while 1 in Port Arthur, Texas, damaged homes. The Lake Charles twister was on the ground for a mile, while the one in Texas carved a 2-mile path of destruction. Other reports of tornado damage came in from Slidell, Louisiana, and Katy, Texas. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
TruGreen is the easiest and most affordable way to get a beautiful lawn. All you have to do is water and mow. And to top it off, when you sign up for an annual plan by April 20th, you get 1 application free. Call or visit TruGreen.com today. Restrictions apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers played their B team last night against Phoenix. The second unit put up a spirited performance before Phoenix pulled away late in the fourth quarter to win by 16. Reserves Bones Highland, P.J. Tucker, Mason Plumlee, Amir Coffey, Kobe Brown, and Brandon Boston got most of the minutes. Highland dropped a career-high 37 points. After playing the Suns in Phoenix Tuesday night, Clippers coach Ty Lue rested his regulars. The Clippers are close to locking up the 4th spot in the Western Conference playoffs. Keep your radar up on Darvin Ham's status as the Lakers coach. A lot of chatter has been circulating lately that he may not survive the season. Phoenix's win over the Clippers last night ensured that the Lakers will be in the play-in round for the 2nd straight year. The Lakers are in the 9th spot and will have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice is racial justice.
Environmental justice is social justice.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelinos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelinos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week, Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Talking with my colleague, attorney Angela Reddock-Wright, who is a specialist in all things work and employment. And, you know, Attorney Reddock-Wright, this article came out, research came out a couple days ago, where researchers sent out 80,000 fake resumes to jobs in the United States, testing to look for discrimination patterns. They sent out resumes with distinctively black names, and they qualify that by saying 90% of the people with this name are black, or of one ethnic group, I should say. And then they sent out white-sounding names, and they found about a 10% rate of discrimination, like you're less likely to be called with a black-sounding name overall. The analysts said this could have been skewed because these companies that they chose were less likely to discriminate. They also found it varied a lot from company to company. And it was interesting, the findings about what seemed to help. What was your initial thought when you saw this?
Well, not surprised, honestly, Dominique, because, we know in our society and the job market that, bias continues, whether there's a study that, actually verifies it or not. And that's certainly the case in the workplace. So I wasn't surprised by the study, particularly because now we live in a place where applying for a job, when I was coming up, I'm a Generation, X person, and when I was coming up, we would go in person to apply for jobs, provide a resume, make a direct connection with the manager or supervisor, but now everything is done online. And when we think about this whole concept of bias and implicit bias and unconscious bias, it happens, just based on the things that we have been, engineered by society to think about people. So if you're not meeting a person in person and you're only reviewing their resume online or through some, database or system, then our natural implicit biases, cause us to leave out people that, may not be like us, i.e. a person who has a name that seems ethnic sounding or not, the type of name that you might be used to, such as an Ashley or a Jennifer or what have you, right?
But it's still illegal, whether it's conscious or unconscious,
for
it's
sure.
still illegal, right? Yeah.
Yes, no, for sure. No matter how a company or organization recruits for individuals, whether it be online, in person, or what have you, there's still, the long-stated federal and state laws that say you cannot discriminate against a person, based on their race, their gender, their, religion, disability, et cetera, when considering them for job opportunities, for promotion, hire, et cetera. So,
but of course, if you're never called, you would never know you were discriminated against. So it's kind of a moot point. If I put in a resume and no one calls me because my name is Lakeisha, I would never be able to prove that because I never got the call.
Right, right. So what's interesting, this connects to one of the newer developments in the law that's still evolving as well, is, with the increase of artificial intelligence being used everywhere, employers are now using artificial intelligence also as a part of their recruiting process to, run, resumes through a system to determine, who meets the minimum qualifications, don't meet the minimum qualifications, et cetera. These artificial intelligence systems are being built by, computer companies, software companies, and behind the software companies are individuals with bias. We all have them, right? So inherent in all of these systems is a level of bias. And now the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which kind of is the federal agency that oversees employment issues and employee rights and so forth, they have come out with guidance for employers saying, employers, if you're going to use artificial intelligence, if you're going to use digital systems, whatever you use to recruit and to hire employees, you have a duty to ensure that these systems, and that whether that's holding your third-party software developer accountable or you're directly accountable, you have to ensure that these systems, in terms of how they are inherently built, don't discriminate, don't create bias in terms of your recruitment efforts. So it's definitely illegal. The government is grappling now. The oversight agencies are grappling with how they are going to provide oversight. But to your point, it's hard to pinpoint, right, if you never get the call back. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to see organizations like the EEOC and large regulatory agencies starting to hone in based on the data and statistics that are coming forward to see if there's any one company, particularly larger companies for the most part, who have systems that are, just based on how they're built, are inherently biased. And we'll start to see them kind of go after these, companies and organizations, as isolated examples of what's happening in the marketplace. And so it's going to have to be dealt with on a broader level to really bring change. But yes, if it's just you or me applying to a job and we never get the call back, we may never know why and may not really be able to piece together a potential lawsuit to say, I think I was discriminated against because of my race, because of my name, because of my ethnicity, because of how I wear my hair, whatever the reasoning may be.
Right. One of the things I like about this particular study is that they are naming names, taking prisoners.
Right. That's what I saw that. So that's sort of what I was alluding to, that I think, an entity like the EEOC starts to, get hold of information like that. And I would not be surprised if we saw them say, hey, X company, X is actually a company. Hey, company, no-name company, we want to see your data. We want to make sure that, as a practice across the board, that you are not engaged in discriminatory hiring practices.
Yeah, and I mean, they also named companies where the racial gap was the smallest, including FedEx, Lowe's, Kroger's, Kohl, Hilton, Target. I love to hear that. For me, that's, a reason to shop or not shop at a place. The largest gap they found was at GPC and AutoNation. In the context of the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, which are now being targeted by conservatives. It started with Florida, literally outlawing DEI programs in public universities, and assuming this now leaks into the private sector, and it has become, speaking of Elon Musk, with his tweet, DEI must die, it has become a popular target. The situation in Baltimore with the bridge, they call him the DEI mayor, and its DEI has now become a euphemism for the N-word. One of the things I found so interesting about this study is that the DEI programs didn't seem to make a difference in terms of this particular area of discrimination. They said the thing that made the biggest difference was having a real centralized human resources department.
Yeah, and that most likely having something like a centralized human resources department, what that means is you have, one group of people that are vetting and receiving resumes, et cetera, And so they presumably are looking at things from a global unified perspective versus if you pass that decision-making down to individual managers, those individual managers just get to do ad hoc, what they want to do, right? So, but true DEI programs and companies that, really take having DEI programs to heart, having something like a centralized human resources infrastructure is most likely a result of part of that company's DEI initiative. It's most likely something that's connected to a recommendation that came out of how do we make sure that we as a company have a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment. And, on its face, the reason critics are criticizing it because most people interpret DEI as, affirmative action, having blacks get positions over white people or what have you, right? And certainly these programs are designed to make sure that there's equity in hiring, but true DEI programs go to the heart of an organization and it asks, what systems do we have in place? What practices do we have in place that on their face are discriminatory and cause us not to be able to achieve our goals of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So people are, as with many, news lines, like you pointed out, people are, have misunderstandings, misperceptions, are educated on what these programs truly are.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that a centralized human resources program will know when you are breaking the law. We're talking with attorney Angela Reddock-Wright, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Did you know there is a healthcare system serving our community whose vision is health for a better world? What if I told you one of our nation's leading healthcare providers has a department dedicated to health equity and community engagement? Providence is Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network with 11 hospitals and 40 urgent care centers. Providence treats each patient with the compassionate care they deserve, when and where they need it. Most importantly, Providence is a diverse family of people and organizations driven by the belief that health is a human right. Providence takes pride in forming community alliances that address health concerns that disproportionately impact those communities. For Minority Health Month, Providence is sponsoring Health for a Better World. Informative conversations with Providence health professionals on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 a.m. Get to know more at providence.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. And visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
The Legal Lens with Angela Reddock-Wright airs Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. But right now, she is with me. We were talking all things work on KBLA Talk 1580. Want to go right to Charles from L.A., Attorney Reddock-Wright. Hi, Charles.
Good morning. Good morning.
What's on your mind this morning? I don't know if you got us on some kind of speakerphone or something, but if you can take us off that and talk to us like, like you're on the radio, that'd be great.
Oh man, let me try. Oh well.
Okay, well, just do the best you can with what you got. What do you have for us, Charles?
Well, this DEI, same way with the critical race theory. It started with this guy Chris Rufo, and he got the idea he could get Republicans elected if he, pushed the race card on these issues. And that's what he's been doing. He said we can redefine these things and make it so anything Republicans don't like, they can just call it DEI or critical race theory. So that's been the plan, and it's been working for them. So you got these white folks upset about stuff that isn't true. Like, for instance, with DEI, they make it sound like it's for the blacks. When really, the #1 beneficiaries of DEI and affirmative action are white women.
I don't know if that's true with DEI, but I've heard that about affirmative action, which, of course, for the most part is now illegal. Is that your understanding, Attorney Reddock-Wright, as far as DEI programs being more impactful for women?
No, mine is similar to yours, that affirmative action did for sure benefit Caucasian women, but DEI has been designed to try to, create diversity equity across the board within companies, and I'm not sure that I'm not even sure, of the benefits for sure. I'm not sure what studies there are on it, but it doesn't appear to have primarily benefited white women.
I think Charles has got a great point about it becoming sort of this euphemism, scapegoat, catch-all term. People who don't even know what CRT or DEI really are, they're just using it as a catch-all to mean we don't want black people in here. And the thing about it is that, as you point out, DEI programs search for people, diverse people, for equitable opportunities who are qualified. It doesn't that lawmaker who said they'd be afraid to be in a plane with a black pilot because they probably got the job through DEI is an idiot. You have to have a pilot's license. Nobody is going to hand you a pilot's license because you're Latino or black. That is just not how it works.
Are the recent Baltimore Bridge falling? I mean, there was comments that happened because of DEI.
The DEI mayor, right.
That was crazy.
How do you get elected mayor as DEI? Like, people have to vote for you. There's no DEI, special appointment for mayors. But what do you think the real impact of this is, Angela Reddock-Wright? I mean, should we be as alarmed as folks are feeling right now about this impacting job opportunities and, openings for black people, for Latina people and others?
Yes, I think we have to be alarmed from two perspectives. There's the political side, and I believe your caller, his name is Charles. He raises a good point. It's being used as bait, in the current, political climate. And so, and some companies and organizations are afraid, especially after the affirmative action decision by the United States Supreme Court last year, taking away affirmative action in higher education. Now companies, and that law doesn't apply to them directly, but because of the political climate and debate and the threatening letters that companies and organizations are receiving from some of these political leaders, they are running scared and trying to decide whether to keep their DEI programs, whether to keep their DEI consultants, to keep their DEI executive leaders, and, really trying to figure out how to maintain DEI programs in this current political climate. So I think there is an overlay because obviously if the election goes one way, that's likely to cause this, conversation to continue and programs to be challenged across the board. If it goes another way, I'm hoping that the conversation will die down and we will continue to have DEI leaders, and really seek to hold companies and organizations accountable, when it comes to making sure that they reflect the consumer and client bases that they serve.
Yeah, this is, this is, really problematic, I think, as a overall, trend line, because we're seeing now, we're starting to see attacks on HBCUs. We are seeing, lawsuits going against scholarship programs that are designed for Black women, Black people, calling them discriminatory. And so this goes beyond, we don't want to include you. We don't want equity. We don't want to let you help yourself, which is really next level evil, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, definitely a level of vitriol. And not that, let's say that, the Democrats win in November. It's not that the conversation will go away, but I'm hoping that win will at least help to provide government with what it needs to say, let's continue the course. Let's keep, fighting against these injustices and making sure that the laws and the systems are in place, to allow these types of programs to continue. Dominique, I might say, on the Legal Lens Show, thanks for that shout out. This month of April, we're actually doing a series on DEI and the legal challenges to it. And, hearing from DEI leaders and consultants who are on the ground as to what's happening, in the work that they're doing. So definitely encourage folks to tune in this month of April.
That's 11 o'clock on Saturdays. We have some breaking news right now. Attorney Reddock-Wright, O.J. Simpson has died at the age of 76. Apparently he was struggling with cancer for some time, and the family put out a statement on April 10th. Our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer, surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During this time of transition, the family asks you respect their wishes for privacy and grace. Certainly O.J. Simpson had a big imprint on the consciousness of America, and most especially Southern California.
Indeed. Well, I imagine you'll be taking that up on some level in the next hour, and we will be hearing, lots of thoughts about that.
Yeah, it's actually, we actually have a specialist on disabilities, an attorney also, and that's what we're deep diving into today. But I'm sure knowing Tavis Smiley probably has an interview somewhere with OJ that he will will play. I never got a chance to interview O.J. Simpson, but certainly we all talked a lot about him, whether it was when he went into the Hall of Fame or he was 1969 he was the Buffalo Bills #1 draft pick, or whether it was the slow speed chase and the trial, which, the trial, so-called trial of the century, which divided L.A. and divided America.
Yes, and you're going to have to bring in one of your favorite guests, Carl Douglas. That'll be an opportunity to go back in time, too, and to kind of think about that case. And
no doubt. Well, I know he's one of your favorite guests, too, Attorney Reddock-Wright.
He is. A favorite of the station, for sure. We love Carl Douglas.
Well, he's very animated, and, he did come to fame, national fame, of course, as a member of the team for O.J. Simpson. Attorney Angela Reddock-Wright, you mentioned this series you have, Saturday mornings 11, focusing in the month of April on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, what it really is. Do you think that there's anything that we as workers, voters, or even job seekers should be keeping in mind during this environment of contraction and attack on DEI, CRT, and anything that seems to imply blackness?
Well, one, as Charles, the caller, indicated, I think it's, educating ourselves, right? Because it's easy to follow the political headlines, even like you mentioned on the fast food workers, like making this about the workers as opposed to, creating equity within our society. So educating ourselves so we know what these terms mean. And, when we hear them in the news or we're in conversation with, friends, coworkers, et cetera, that we're able to intelligently talk about what DEI is, what CRT is, what affirmative action really did do or didn't do, right? So education. Two, the guest I'm having this Saturday is a woman named Tequila Smith, and she's a leader in what we're seeing in corporate America is called environmental social governance, which is a division within most large companies now. And that's a division that directly interfaces with consumers and customers, and in terms of those consumers and customers saying, we do business with you, like you alluded to the companies on that list, like it makes you want to do business with some companies versus others. This is a division that directly interfaces with consumers on social issues and helps their companies to be accountable to the consumers that they serve. So I would say write those letters to companies, express your voice. If companies are doing things that don't fit with your, social morale system and that you want to see more DEI, you want to see more, support for diverse communities, let your voice be known.
Gonna have to leave it there. Thank you so much. You can find her at I am Angela Reddock-Wright on Instagram. Continuing our conversation after news, traffic, and sports right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
2023, the group was sentenced to a combined total of between 10 to 20 years in prison. Tornadoes tore through Louisiana and